In this video, I talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's go. Hello, YouTube. Axiomat here once again. And just like everyone else out there on the internets, I wanted to share my thoughts, my reaction to the new Deadpool movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. If you haven't seen the movie yet, stop watching this video. This is a spoiler full, not free, spoiler full review. So at the time of this recording, I'm almost 1 week later. I am exactly 1 week later of when it was released to the general public. So if you haven't seen it by now, one, what's the matter with you? And two, don't watch this video because I am going to spoil the hell out of it. So 3, 2, 1. Wow, what a movie. Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2, they're already awesome in my opinion. They're so well made, but this movie took the cake. Now, before I even get into the actual storyline and everything that happened and my reactions to these little things, I have to say this. In my opinion, the Captain America trilogy in the MCU is my favorite, and I think it's by far the most superior to any other character's trilogy, whether it's Ant-Man, Iron Man, Guardians, Thor, whoever. Captain America, the First Avenger, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and of course, Captain America, Civil War, in my opinion, take the cake. No one even comes close in regards to the MCU. Now, that said, the Deadpool trilogy, now it's a trilogy, is on par. It's equal to what I always considered to be the above standard, not above average, but the excellent, the outstanding. So I'm not going to cover everything frame by frame. There's channels out there on YouTube that you can watch breakdowns and hidden Easter eggs, things like that. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm just going to share my personal favorites in regards to the movie moments. The first one that comes to mind is when Deadpool thinks that he's met Captain America. And Ryan Reynolds is such a genius because earlier in the film, when they're at the TVA, if you notice the shots being shown, yeah, you kind of see different parts of the Avengers, but very kind of like psychologically, he shows nothing but cat pictures. Like I've seen this, or video. I've seen this movie twice, and I've noticed that when you're watching on the TVA as an audience member, but also Deadpool is watching as an audience within the film, the events that transcribed in the MCU, but they're mostly like 90% Cap scenes. See, you save that, you store that, because later the payoff is going to be that as soon as Deadpool recognizes, Chris Evans, well, not only does he think it's Cap, but so do we. Not just because he says it, but because we've been messed with. I didn't catch that the first viewing, but I did the second time. And when he says "flame on," my theater went nuts. I mean, it went bonkers, and I did too. And for me, it's a little bit more personal because the Fantastic Four films, the Fox Fantastic Four films, the first one and Rise of the Silver Surfer, have always been guilty pleasures for me. I always thought that they got a bad rap. Always. I as corny, as cheesy as they were, I always kind of had a soft spot for them in my heart. Like, I just love those films because I felt like they really did capture the essence of the Fantastic Four. What's not to like, right? Jessica Alba casting was the only one that was like kind of like shaky about, but have no complaints, not really. And little details like when the Thing moves his hands and his body, you can actually hear the sound bites of like rock, scraping against rock. Little thing. I've seen those movies so many times that I just paid attention to all those. And come on, Lawrence Fishburne as the voice of Silver Surfer, like that voice, Like I said, guilty pleasures. If you don't like those films, that's fine. I personally like them. There's a lot of very campy and bad moments, bad acting, bad just choices in whatever. But I don't care. Like I love those movies. So to see Johnny Storm come up in this movie, I mean, I was like I swear I had a couple of fanboy tears come out. It was so awesome. And then, of course, and then we get the big reveals of Elektra, Blade, and of course, Gambit. For those not in the know, Channing Tatum as Gambit, if this is something that was circulating for years that he was going to make, or he was going to be Gambit in a solo Gambit movie. They didn't just pick him at random for this film. For those that know, you're probably gonna fast forward this, but if you don't know, yeah, he was always supposed to play Gambit in his own solo movie. Never happened. So to see him actually get his spot in the spotlight was super cool. Like it was so cool. I mean, I lost it, And then when I got to see him use his powers, like that's the way you use Gambit's powers. I mean, he's right there. That was epic. That was amazing. And just the fact that in Blade 3, there was always, it wasn't even a rumor. This was confirmed that Ryan Reynolds and Wesley Snipes, they did not like each other. They kind of like, they just butted heads on the production of the film. So to see kind of like, obviously there was some kind of reconciliation there. And that was so cool that he was in the film. Like you have to know, let me pause right here. You have to know all the backstories of all these comic book movies and comic books in general and everything, like following the comic book movie genre for as many years as someone like me. These payoffs were just an emotional roller coaster. I'm not even going to lie. I mean, I was choked up on several scenes. I was just like, and not that it was an emotional scene, just seeing the fanboy service, the comic book fan service, just I mean, it was so epic, and I thank you, Ryan Reynolds. You'll never watch this video, but I don't care. I'm gonna thank him in this video. So the part that choked me up the most, yeah, I'm totally busting at Kevin Smith. Anyone that doesn't know, Kevin Smith constantly cries during his reviews of films or while he's watching. I don't make fun of him. I actually I love that about the guy that he gets so emotional about this. I do too. My wife has watched me cry as Luke Skywalker came out in the last episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian. I mean, I was bawling. So I'm the same way. I just haven't never put it on film. So kudos to him for actually sharing that with the world. But the part that got me the most choked up and actually had me ooh, was hearing not only X-23 but also Deadpool himself saying, "You were always the wrong guy." Wolverine saying, "You got the wrong guy. You were always the wrong guy." Now, for some of us who have been following these films for decades now, I'm looking at you, my brother, aka Bionic. We always complained that Hugh Jackman was never the right guy. He was just way too tall, way too tall. Hence the joke when the little comic book accurate Hugh Jackman Wolverine comes out. That's an inside joke of like he shouldn't be this tall, huge Jackman. All the jokes that came with that. Well, I was part of the joke makers because I loved him, but not at first. I didn't. I was like, I mean, he looked the part, but he's just way too tall. Comic book accurate Wolverine is very short, very stocky. And I love the way they phrased it, the way they kind of formulated it to say it to themselves, but they were also speaking to me as an audience member, to the audience in general. You were never the right guy. You were always the wrong guy until you weren't. Man, that is not just an inside the film thing. the inner world of the film, but it's also to like all of us as the fans. Like, you were never the right guy until you were. When he puts out that cowl, man, talk about your accurate statements. I'm getting a little choked up right now. Great film. That message to the audience, as far as you were never the right guy until you were, is amazing. Like, talk about like fan service, not just bringing back old characters, but also the messaging that the movie delivered on. I loved it. I can go into detail, further detail, but that's kind of where I'll leave it, because that was my take on it. Those were my favorite parts. There's more that I can talk about, obviously, but I'll leave it at that. As always, although this is a movie review, always collect what you love what you collect, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, I'm still a little choked up.
Papa, don't be sad.
Okay, I'll try.
I can't cheer you up.
Really? How?